Testing, testing. Say regular stuff.
Regular stuff like what?
All right, we're ready to go. You can turn your light off for us.
All right.
All right, so
Hey.
that sounds like the opposite of awake, which is proving that we're doing this late at night. So yeah, hopefully everybody has been good. Hopefully, um, this last week or so has brought some new endeavors, some blessings. I'm sure it brought some challenges. So we'll jump into those challenges shortly hereafter. But how are you today, tonight?
Wow, you opened that really good. I'm impressed.
I'm just being. It's what it is. I'm dead. But thank you. I mean, if I did anything special.
You're welcome. Um, I am keeping it together, but I'm still blessed, like I said last time, and I'm always good, like I always say.
You say that or I say that?
I say that. You know, I always say I'm good.
Because last time you said you blessed, but when I went back and listened, I said I was blessed. And then you said, but nah, but that's good. Hopefully, you know, good is multiplying in meaning. Because I feel like good at times people take good for granted. And we almost look at it like it's, like it's like, oh, you're just content. Like, I'm good, which is not a bad thing. But like,
Some people, I feel like, use it as a retaliation,
like what? What you mean?
or am I thinking of retaliation or more like a rejection thing? Like we try to say I'm good as a form of like
Oh, that's
turning
different. I
other
don't mean it
people
like
away.
that. But yeah, people use it like that. I literally mean though, like we say we're good, and it can be that way. But it's also like even if somebody asks you how you're doing and you say you're good, but really like you're not bad, but you could be better, as opposed to like somebody saying they're good and like good is like a great thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Like
some people be like I'm good, so you can leave them alone.
that's true. That's true. But I think we know when like that's not really hard to gauge because that's typically not the answer to the question.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, but anyway.
Okay, so how are you?
Yeah, I think I was answering, but
Oh, you were?
no, I don't know what I said already, but if I didn't, yeah, I'm also good. I'm thankful. Um, I'm glad you're good. And I know good for both of us. I think is a word that we wouldn't use if we didn't mean it, but it's also a word we know if it continues to grow and good continues to look better and better, then that would be good too.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
you can have some good food, but there's still restaurants you want to try. Like it don't mean you're gonna stop
Mm.
trying new restaurants that you hear are really good just because you know what your favorite food is. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a different story for sure.
but yeah, I'm good, like you said. So challenges. What's challenging you? What's challenging to us? Not just me and you, but everybody. What are
um
challenges? What does that even mean?
mm,
What do they look like? What are
first
they
of
for?
all, first of all, wow. You really ready to jump right into this? Okay. Challenges come in many different forms. I'll start by saying that. and they look differently for different people. Because one thing that is a challenge on a very basic level, something that's a challenge for one person may not be a challenge for another person. And that's just literally one angle.
Yeah, it's true. Which I really, those type of responses are challenging to me because I feel like when people try to give so many different sides to something, it's like they're trying to find a way to not look at it all the way, like for what everybody can see that it is, but nonetheless it's true, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
You know, it's like when we say, what's the definition of something versus like, what does that mean to you? It's like, what do you mean? What does it mean to you? I can't define the word already has a definition, but it still
Mm,
has meaning to different people because of our perspectives. But yeah,
I get what you're saying. Okay, so what is a challenge?
but no, literally, but I hear you. They definitely look different for different people. I think challenge is something that is obviously hard, you know, for whatever reason, if not for many reasons, but it might not be something that is sustained over time. A challenge could just last for a moment. You know what I mean? Whereas to your point, somebody would say, well, if it only lasted for a moment, that's not a real challenge. But it's not true. I feel like you could have a challenging moment that affects the rest of your day, you know, or you could
That's
have
true.
a challenging day that is more manageable because maybe you it was already on the calendar, like you knew it was coming, you
Hmm.
know,
Okay.
like moving out.
Okay. Okay. I hear your take on this.
But go
I
ahead, jump
think,
in, jump back in.
okay, a challenge is something that pushes you to grow or something that pushes you to break boundaries or limitations.
That's even more of a answer that is necessary. But some I don't know if a challenge is a mountain. I don't know that some are able to see beyond the mountain to see where the growth is or to see where the journey leads or can lead. So they would rather not even attempt to climb the mountain, you know.
So, would the other definition apply to them then? Of something that is pushing them to break beyond their own limitations?
I think it can if they allow their perspective to see that. The potential is always there. The definition is the same for everybody, but I feel like what it will mean for everybody is not the same. You know.
Because it's like if somebody challenges you, they say, I challenge you to a race. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when you used to race when you'll be outside
Mm-hmm.
and you're the person that is faster than them,
Mm-hmm.
challenging them to race you.
Mm-hmm.
And you in your mind, you know you're gonna beat them. And they a little skeptical because they don't want to get beat.
Mm-hmm.
But if they accept the challenge, knowing that you're fast,
Mm-hmm.
then they they're going to literally have to push themselves to like win
But
or run.
but like you said, they accepted it. That's the key, and they can see why they if they already know you're faster than them, why would they accept the race?
Hmm. That's true.
Oh, I'm literally asking though, why?
Um, Maybe because they do want the thing that's gonna help them break beyond their limitations and their boundaries.
And for that reason, they can see growth. I feel like, or they can begin to see it. They can see where it's necessary to race people faster than them. But if it's like, if it's almost like you faster than me, why would I race you? Or I'm not. I already know you're gonna beat me. Why would I race you? If that's their mindset, then they can't see beyond the limitation, and there is no growth. You know, unless they
Okay.
allow the person asking them, and the person being me, I guess in the example, knowing I'm faster than you, but I'm asking you because like I want to push you. It can happen in that way. if but you still have to accept.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that is one angle
Hmm.
of a person accepting it by our definition a challenge. So what about when you don't know something is going to be a challenge and you're already in it?
Well, then I think it just depends on how well you've been prepared to that point. How many challenges prior have you accepted, or previously have you accepted leading up to that point? Because you can't, not all challenges are on the calendar. Like,
Mhm.
and maybe they are, but you can't always see them, what date they're going to fall on, whatever. So it's like if you've been prepared, you've been preparing, you've been accepting challenges, big, small, maybe none have been bigger than the one that you're currently in, but all the little ones have added up to like, okay, I've won this many times, like I know I can win again. Like it's a little harder, but I've won before.
Mhm.
Versus like you keep saying no to challenges, so even though they still come, even when they come, you kind of like just hope it blows over like a storm.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you kind of like face the storms, to the best of your ability, obviously it looks different depending on what we're talking about. So it's not to belittle any specific things, that are anybody's dealing with or whatever, but literally, like, if you do that, if you continue down the path, if you're able to face whatever those challenges are, I mean, it is kind of like the thing where, I guess you just develop muscle memory, you know,
Mhm.
and at a certain point, like, I don't know, you just begin to, I guess, in a way, like, become a problem solver, but you could also say, like, you could develop more faith, like greater faith. You could develop, you know, more of an optimistic attitude. Like there's different areas depending on like what it is, I feel like. And but it's almost like your tool, probably got this example from somebody, but your toolkit like grows, or expands. Like you have more to pull from.
Mhm.
Like, all right, I need to just have faith. All right, I need to just have a little bit more patience. All right, I need to. But if you're not going through things to where those areas, those characteristics can develop in you, then when you find yourself in the midst of something, like, I mean, is your toolkit empty or is it expensive? Like, do
Mhm.
you have experience or are you lacking, the necessary muscle memory to like even face it for real? It don't mean you won't get through it, but it's like, what are you really gonna get out of it? You know, it's like kind of asserting yourself throughout the week or through the entire week. And then when the weekend comes, like whether you keep working or you take a break or whatever, what did you get out of the week? Versus just kind of like going through the week.
Mhm.
And then at the end of going through the week, like you made it, but did you grow or did you just waste 5 to 7 days just
Yeah.
looking for the reset button to make it through again so you can get paid? You know,
Yeah.
Obviously, again, not belittling what some people might literally be enduring or anybody at any given time, because there are some things that you do literally making it through is making it through. But you know what I mean, relatively speaking, if you just made it through something that's all you could do, then you didn't just make it through. Like you probably did push, you probably did have faith, you probably. So
Yeah.
it is relative, but if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So I guess our next question or another question would be, what are challenges for? So even though like we understand what we can get out of them, or even as we're going down this path, like we're trying to better understand what we can get out of them. Like literally though, like why are there challenges? You know, like I guess what causes them, and even if we can go as far to say like why does God allow them, or why do they happen in life? You know,
Mm. To help us grow.
so that's what we just kind of covered. But like, what, like, why are they here? Like, what happened? Like,
I think it's a matter of perspective. Feel like something doesn't have to be a challenge, but if you see it that way, then it probably is a challenge. S-
that's good. That's really good.
Feel like a lot of things are whatever you want them to be. If you want it to be good, it's gonna be good. If you want it to be bad, it's gonna be bad.
That's true.
And maybe you can accept that something is a challenge and know that it is requiring more from you, but also get to decide um, if you do want to embrace this challenge as something that is going to help you, or you can look at it as something that, for lack of a better way to put it, you just dislike it. And maybe your experience will be miserable as a result, but you got to decide that what you wanted to get out of that specific challenge.
It's true. I do feel like every challenge is kind of like new. So even though, you know, it might not be a new problem to the world from like a description based standpoint of describing what the thing is, like people get colds, but it's like, oh, you've never had a cold like in the middle of the summer type of thing. Like, you know, John Doe never had a cold in June, and now he has a cold in June. It's like that's his first time dealing with that. So,
Mhm.
what does life look like in that moment? Like, and again, I mean, back to just what you're saying about perspective. It's like now he has to gain new perspective, like really on life, in my opinion. You know,
Mhm.
so while it might not be that quote unquote big of a deal, like what you just said, I mean, I forgot what you just said, literally, but my spirit knows I'm responding to something you just said. Like him having to go into this thing, into this space, into this new space with this, you know, new challenge. It kind of now forces him to have to, like, I don't know, like really self assess and like approach life in like a whole different, way. I mean, I might be making it more vast or deep or whatever than it maybe really is. But I feel like if he chooses to, I think that's what it was that you kind of said. Like, if he so chooses to see it as this, then he can see it as this and he can see it as opportunity. He can see it as really new life in a way
Yeah.
instead of just saying, like, it's summertime and I got a cold. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, dang, it's summer. I never had a cold in the summer. Like, let's see how quickly I can beat this, or let's see what I'm still able to do, even though
Yeah.
I have a cold. Like, in spite of having a cold, this go around, I'm gonna still maybe not go to work, to avoid getting other people sick, but maybe I'm still gonna go outside and exercise, or I'm still gonna get up early. You know,
Mhm.
I'm gonna use this now 3 to 5 days away from my regular daily scheduled programming to like implement a bedtime discipline and like develop this new habit with this newfound free time that I wouldn't have otherwise if I wasn't sick, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just interesting to think about it like that because that's might be a silly example, but it doesn't have to be. But, obviously there's many other things that could happen, but it's like, okay, what's the opportunity? What's the lesson, the learning point, if you will, the point at which even if it's not in the moment of the challenge, like the first minute of it, some point, along the way, you realize it's like an aha moment, like, dang, like this is actually a blessing, or there's actually room for, opportunity here.
Yeah.
Like, I can actually look at this, or I'm actually considering life in a newfound light because of this,
Yeah.
to your point. But obviously, everybody is not going to always, you know, it's kind of weird, but in a way, like staying in the moment or being in the moment, it makes me think about that kind of, um, I guess just saying, like, be in the moment. Because it's like when people find themselves in the midst of, I'll just say, adversity or in the midst of any given challenge, I feel like we often consider where it is we would rather be or what it is we would rather be doing, or if this wasn't happening, what that would look like.
Mhm.
And then we almost like we rob ourselves of like being in the moment, in that moment, and getting out of that moment still what we're supposed to get out of that moment,
Yeah.
you know? And it's interesting because like why would we rather be in another moment just because this one is challenging? And again, I guess just going back, instead of like, obviously it's hard to see over a mountain like, oh, there's growth over there. But it's like we're not even trying to look, like it's not necessarily cheating to look around the mountain or try to see what's past this mountain. Like I feel like that's a good thing. It's almost like teacher gives you a problem or a math problem, and there's more than one way to figure out the answer, and you do your best to just like, try to break the rules a little bit to figure it out.
Mhm.
And it's like there's no breaking the rules if you can figure out the answer, as long as you're not just going to the back of the book and finding the answer. But if she didn't say don't do that, you might even can try that.
Mhm.
But like instead of even trying to look around the mountain or try to even just go up a little bit and see like what might be up there, we we just turn around and look back or close our eyes. If we're closing our eyes to envision what could be past it, that's one thing. But if we're closing our eyes, like, because we don't even want to face it, it's just interesting. Like,
Yeah. Um, I guess as you're saying that, something I'm thinking about is, um, I don't know, guess challenges force you to stay focused even. I think they can be used to test yourself or test what it is you're doing and kind of force you to um remember the vision or stay purposed on the vision.
hmm
So in that way, um, to your point, instead of looking back, being able to like look around the mountain and be hopeful or reminded of what's ahead or what's on the other side of that challenge, definitely can be something that is rewarding if a person is willing to have the right perspective about that.
yeah, I agree. So is it safe to say that God created or gave challenges, or like challenges are a part of life? Or is it that we just create challenges, like human beings create challenges because we like to cut corners and dig when we should not dig because there's a sign that says no digging? And then we're trying to find oil, but instead we, I don't know, we cause lava to start coming up. Like, but I don't know. I feel like I feel like there's not one answer to it, but in a way, it's almost like we would be fools maybe to think that life is not, you know, or challenges, I should say, are not a part of life, or that they don't have to be, or that, like, almost like we try to limit the amount of things that we encounter that are challenging,
Hmm.
you know? Like, should we do that or should we actually create them? But in creating them, should it be more of a constructive type of challenge based? You get what I'm saying? Like almost like curriculum. Like, yeah, we want to face challenges, but we're not gonna foolishly, like cause things to just like interrupt or disrupt our life in a way that is like, I guess you could say, ignorant. But we are gonna like structure life or structure our day in a way, maybe, or our week or month or whatever, to where we do things that are challenging to prepare ourselves on purpose,
Mhm.
aside from what life is already gonna bring. So maybe two or three questions, maybe all in one. But did God create challenges? Like, are challenges a part of life, or are they just because we kind of do things ignorantly at times that create challenges? You
Mm,
think?
I feel like it's all three. I mean, God is preparing us for something, and He knows challenges will help prune away, you know, certain ways of thinking or behaviors and habits. I do think they're a part of life, but that's where our perspective comes in at. If we so choose to embrace them, we can have a positive mindset towards challenges and how we go about, um, dealing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the last thing you say, but
Um, I just said life, God, and humans, basically.
oh, and humans creating their own. I think we do that all the time. Um, Again, I mean, definitely our perspective can make things more challenging than what they are, but sometimes out of curiosity or temptation, just making certain decisions, like you said, they can create certain challenges for ourselves. And as a result, we do either have to learn a lesson from them, or maybe we actually do get something positive out of it because we were that curious or willing to take a risk, um, and or not allowing fear to drive us away from certain challenges. And or to your point again, if we do want to embark on a new journey or create something new, we are literally maybe opening ourselves up to challenges that we didn't even know exist, or things we didn't know we would be a challenge. So I think it does come from every angle. Um, and challenges don't always have to be a bad thing.
Yeah, they're not always bad, but in a way, I feel like we've spoken to them in a good way. But I guess I'm also thinking about them in a way too, where it's like there's this level of challenges that obviously are unpleasant. So even though we know we can get something good out of it, it's like humans creating challenges such as like quote unquote global warming type issues. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, look at that and get the good out of it. Like, I guess, you know what I mean? I feel like it's more, I don't know, it's more of something that now like has to be dealt with. But like, obviously, the world has the capacity to globally warm. The earth, that is, has the capacity to do that for whatever reason. So we just have to experience it and be thankful, obviously, that it probably can do that. Because if it didn't, it might be something else than global warming
Hmm.
already. But it's like those kind of things, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not only speaking to that level of a thing, but it's like human beings obviously creating cars, that's a great invention, but maybe going against like scientific, you know, knowledge of how much emissions and how many cars and this and that. And it's like, well, we're just going to produce them on the level that there's a whole industry. It don't really matter who has one. And now there's emissions, or whatever, fumes in the air. The ozone layer now is paying for it, even though humans know what that's gonna do, but foolishly, because it's like even still with the knowledge and information, we still, you know, obviously good comes out of it. We get quicker. Things can happen in the earth, even lives get saved, ironically, because there's transportation. But instead of like finding other ways or, not creating new challenges by forcing this industry to continue to grow and selling cars that cost however much and do whatever they do, or allowing just whatever crazy levels of emissions to just flow up and down the streets every day in the name of like, well, it's bringing in money,
I
you know.
think it's a cycle that just speaks to evolution and again our growth because I mean you're bringing up macro level examples,
Hmm.
but sometimes you create something you don't know what the um you might be creating something to tackle a challenge that is being had. So if we're talking about cars, like if it took longer to walk, then somebody thought, okay, I'll create a car.
Hmm.
And okay, did that human create their own challenge by taking on that task? Sure. But did they have the complete knowledge that these would be the types of consequences as a result? Maybe not. So now that okay, emissions and global warming or pollution and all that is a macro level challenge,
Hmm.
we still have to scale it back to like micro micro level, which is the individuals now taking on the challenge to um again rearrange ways of thinking and habits. So if it does mean I don't know, looking into better vehicles or I don't know much about cars, but whatever a person has to do, or even if they decide that they are not going to drive their cars as much, I think individually we have to decide,
Hmm.
what we would like to see happen and what we want. Um, and it could be challenging to change our way of living. And if we're speaking to something that is an example, such as the one that you gave, but I think it is just it's a revolving door, like you said, of new challenges even because sometimes you don't know what the thing you create, what is gonna come as a result. You might have something in mind that was for the greater good or something like that, but
Hmm.
um in 20, 30 years or whatever, you may not necessarily know what it evolves to. And at that point, it's to look at what that challenge is again and do something with that.
It's true. I like what you said about the individual level of like looking at things, or micro level. But I do think there's the part where it's like, I mean, at a certain point, I guess the responsibility does become macro. Like everything done on an individual level. Like if you have great inventors creating things on a micro level or an individual level, but then they grow to where it's like, all right, that was great. Now, how can we make this or improve this so that it doesn't create a problem or even bigger problem to what, yeah, it created a solution to something, but it also, like you said, there were elements that came along with it that, caught for our attention, like flags or whatever, red flags. So it's like now the responsibility is more so, I guess it always kind of goes back to the individual. But if there are people who hold positions, let's just say that can say like, all right, this is the amount of cars that can be on the road, period. How we prioritize or allow people to whatever with this, that, and the third kind of car, I don't know. Maybe for those who are wealthy enough to say my car is on the road and they pay that price, whatever that is, to make sure their car is on the road, maybe they can't stop them. But maybe if that's the law, or if that's something that has to be implemented for the greater good of taking care of the earth, you know what I mean? And that's somebody's call because they earned their way to that position or they were voted into that position. Okay, well, everybody else gets a free a voucher for an electric car. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? But like, that's where it's something to me where it's like the inventor on an individual level had nothing to do with that, you know, but at some point, somebody has to, you know, I guess to your point, it still goes back to micro or individual, but when it becomes macro, it's macro,
Mhm.
you know, and like we all are dealing with it. And
Mhm.
there's no individual, I guess, that could fix it. But I guess there's a major balance to be had between the micro and the macro.
Yeah.
Without the major balance, that's where shoot probably even more challenges exist. You know, because for example, we're in a very fast-paced society nowadays. Regardless of where you live, I feel like you could live in a country and it's still probably pretty fast, even with traffic or rush hour type times of the day. You know, back in the day in 1900.
Mhm.
But back in the day could have been 5 years ago. You know, for some of us, we know like a certain area was not as, you know, trafficy. Like it wasn't as much traffic
Mhm.
at 2 o'clock. Whereas now it's like it's traffic at 8 p.m., you know,
Yeah.
or 7 or 6, whatever. But, you know, my point is just to say, like, even in a more fast paced society now, if the individual can slow things down for themselves, they can still live a life that's, you know, what they envision, you know, whatever that may be. They don't have to live fast paced just because they live in a fast paced society. Now,
Mhm.
some things you might not be able to get around, you know, but in other ways,
Yeah.
challenges are more than manageable. And what we're looking at, you know, at the end of the day and what and how we manage them or how we view them is what I meant to say is definitely like our part,
Yeah.
you know, and what we get out of them, as we both said, is maybe not always our decision, but it's our decision whether or not we're going to get something out of it.
Mhm.
So I agree with your micro level approach.
Thanks.
Well, all right. Well, I think we're both tapped out. So go ahead and
Wrap it up.
let you do the honors.
Well, I hope as we're having this conversation that you all are maybe thinking about the challenges that you feel like you're currently facing, um, or have faced before, and just think about, you know, what did you get out of that challenge, or what can you currently get out of that challenge? Um, Definitely don't let the challenge be for nothing. Um, because you do have the power to decide how you like to see things and how you like to overcome them. So we want to leave you with that. And we thank you for listening. And we will talk to you all again soon.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
That's be it.
Oh, we said it in the beginning, so I wasn't sure if I should say it. Okay, that's BS.
Yeah, we said the end from the beginning. Like the Lord. We gotta say it again.